All praises unto the Most High. We're giving thanks unto thee, Father, for thou art merciful and kind to thy servant and also to thy people. We also, Father, give thanks for thy mercies continually and your blessings. So here we go now, Israel. We are back with another lesson. We are actually going into something which, you know, um, I would say as a youth, um, growing up, I've heard stories and you know heard of a lot of things pertaining to witchcraft, right? And I have never personally, I would say, seen somebody casting a spell on somebody or nothing like that. But I know that it exists because when I was younger, I was saying that all of that was just really a figment of your imagination. But now, over time, and also getting into truth and also learning the scriptures, knowing that, yes, these things are for real. Because if there is a positive energy, you must know that there's a negative energy. So if there is good, there is evil. And that's for now, right? But in this time, we have to realize that, you know, this evil is trying to convince a lot of our people to do these things which are abomination unto the Most High, and also will cast your own soul into the deepest parts of Hades, which is, it, hell. All right. So I've seen some videos, and it seems like this now, especially with why is it so much of a I would say a burning desire for me to do this lesson right now is because I've seen that you know our women, you know our Israelite women, you know have been getting themselves caught up into these practices and not really knowing what they do, um, and they're only setting themselves up for a major fall, all right? And as the father said, there's nothing new underneath the sun, you know what I mean? This has happened before with our people, and this is one of the reasons why we went into captivity because we did so much evil in front of the Most High, right? So Israel, I'm going to, get into this video here, and I'm going to some scriptures to deal with the witchcraft counsel, right? The witchcraft counsel, right? So I've found out that now doing these, spells and which works or whatever they want to call it, you know what I mean? Because these women have now taken up this practice like it's something that is a trend, and I've got to find out that it's something that is very prevalent in some of the social media platforms where some of these women are doing these things, right? And it has been in you know our family tree for a little bit in terms of you know trying to conjure up spirits and doing all kind of manner of evil, what I mean, to use these things as way of getting a gain. Well, the only gain that you're getting is a gain doorway to hell, to be, tormented by demons, right? And they've been fooled in their mind to think that when you do these things, it will bring you some form of prosperity or it open doors, that, you always wanted to be open, but not knowing that, you know, it's only to your demise, right? And by doing so, we are shedding some light, Israel, on these things. And we're going to get into it. You know what I mean? We're going to get into it, Israel, right? So it's kind of sad for me to see that our people still are not learning from our mistakes. We are still making the same mistakes over and over, right? And getting into things which will cost, it's going to cost us in the end. It's going to really cost us dearly, right? And, it's just sad, really sad. But, I guess, the scriptures really, come alive when it says that, it's only 1/3 of our people that will make it through, to that place of rest, all right? And, 2/3 of our people will not. I'm just talking about Israel. I'm not even talking about the heathens or the rest of the world. That's just, Israel. You know what I mean? So I hope this reaches somebody that, they can realize, say, you know what, this is might not the way that, I should be going, and turn away from these things, because in the end, it will cost you, right? Now, I've seen in recent times of people telling me that, you know, things that have been happening to people is because of, people doing, witchcraft. But only the Most High knows, and He will set things straight, right? So, all praises unto the Most High, and we will get into it, Israel.
I honestly believe Jesus was one of the most toxic relationships I've ever had in the entirety of my life.
You shouldn't keep your magic in the dark. Like, this is your soul. You need to share it to the world.
Let it rain on me now. So be it. So it is.
I was a super Christian. I was raised in the church. I was a worship leader. I'm like singing all over the place and touring over here and crying out to God. How many times have I prayed to Jesus to show up for things that were actually needed, and He didn't show up?
Melissa Whetstone grew up as a preacher's kid, but 12 years ago, she left the church. She says the community felt toxic, and she didn't feel a personal connection to Jesus.
Hi, how are you? I need the frankincense and myrrh I see is here.
She eventually discovered Lukumi, a religion that was brought to Cuba by enslaved West Africans.
It's just a beautiful thing to be a part of. It's a beautiful community spirit. You're learning and growing with other people. So I really love it.
Black folks have left the church in higher numbers over the last decade than ever before, and younger generations are even less likely to affiliate with the church. But many young people are still seeking spirituality, and some are reviving traditions from Africa and the Caribbean through practices that connect them with their ancestors.
When I was 26, I was broke.
Right. As usual, it goes Israel. These guys tend to come in with their commercials, but let's move forward and, let's get into this, because this is so interesting, and I'm going to comment, but before I move, I will say that she said that having a relationship with Christ was the most toxic thing that she ever had. I'm going to tell her why it was the most toxic thing that she ever had. For one, she was worshiping. I'm not going to ask. She was worshiping on a Sunday. Second of all, she said that she asked Christ for, and I'm not talking this white guy that they showed people on this, these paintings and all these almanacs, and you name it, wherever you see him, this white looking dude. No, right? I'm talking about the real Christ, right? The Christ from where? Judea. From where? Nazareth. The lineage of David, not this hocus pocus guy, which, these people were worshiping, which was really and truly a form of witchcraft. You know what I mean? And the Most High, said that we would do these things, right? So, with that said, right, she said she asked Christ and he never gave her what she wanted, right? No, the Most High, I can guarantee you this, never gives you things which is outside of his will. And, you know, if you're asking for something which is outside the Most High's will, you won't get it. You know what I mean? The Most High don't work like that, right? And Christ is not a one to, you know, grant people things so they can go off into the world to, get themselves in more, problems. You know what I mean? So let's continue.
This is my boveda or my altar. A few glasses of water. That's just for my specific ancestors who watch and look over me. I have liquor that my uncle likes. Gotta make sure he still get lit on the other side. I feed.
Right, and this is the next thing which they do, Israel, which is a part of this witchcraft, which I'm telling you, what I mean, if you notice it, it always involves alcohol, right? And they talk about ancestries. Now, it seems like they're worshiping their ancestry over the Most High. And this is where they fall short because they are conjuring spirits. They're leaning on the dead. And the Most High tells you about that the dead and the living cannot be in the same place and same time. You know what I mean? Those things don't work, right? Well, let's continue.
I talk to them. I spend time with them. Like, this is my place to be.
So can you talk about some of the differences in what you study now to what your relationship was with Christianity then? What are you getting out of Lukumi that
I
you
get
didn't
answers to
find
my
in the
prayers.
Christian church?
That I tell people that all the time. Like when they're like, "What's the difference?" I'm like, "Because my prayers are answered." Like that's one. When I come to my altar.
No, she said when she comes to her altar, right? She's gonna ask for things that she gets her prayers answered. No, I'm gonna tell you this, right? That those are demons. That's not any ancestors or whoever she think that it is, or great uncle or something like that, right? That's a demon, right? So you're actually praising a demon and you're letting demons into your vessel. But let's continue.
And I pray to my ancestors, and I actually take my time to cry out. Not only do I get responses, I get physical manifestations and answers.
You were born into a household where your dad was a pastor?
Yes.
How is that relationship with him now, and how did your family react?
I'm the black sheep of my family. I love my family to death. They love me, but we don't see eye to eye. They're like, "Girl, you're going to hell, you're going to burn." And I'm like, if I was going to burn.
Exactly. She just said it. They're saying that you're going to go to hell and she's going to burn. She should really consider what they're saying. You know what I mean? Because that is not a joke. But, let's continue. Let's hear what she says.
I'm pretty sure we will be burning together.
Ironically, it is often because of that kind of religious conservatism that people move out.
Dr. Yvonne Chareau studies African and indigenous religions.
A lot of these religions came to the United States after the Middle Passage, after the period of slavery. Like other immigrants, they bring their cultures and their religions. But because when they come to the United States, they're often met with hostility, they tended to be secretive.
Can you talk about the role that social media has played? Because especially if we're talking about the younger generation, they might not be as dedicated to being ordained and, kind of doing all these rituals. But if I go up and down my timeline, now everybody's a witch. Everybody's burning sage.
Prior to the turn of the 20th century, they used...
No, that is actually true, Israel. You know what I mean? If you go onto, like, what's they call it again? What's the name of that social media again? Because I'm telling you, I can't even bother keep up with some of these things. Instagram, right? People are on there, having a profile as a witch, That's crazy. You go on YouTube, it's the same thing, right? But let's get into it.
Utilize the internet or whatever media was available in order to be spiritual entrepreneurs. They would sell goods and services. They would treat clients and so forth. With the coming of the digital age, and in particular social media, I really feel like younger people are grabbing on to some of the digital trends where they can sort of brand themselves as practitioners. It's a kind of identity to be a part of this. So the internet and social media has certainly helped to popularize it. But I really do feel strongly that this is something of a movement in that young Black people, they are reaching back, they are recovering that which is ancestral, but they're...
Hold up, Israel, hold up, right? Let's actually take that back a bit. I wanted to see that again, right? Let me quickly minimize that. All right, let's actually just take this back a bit. I want to see that again, right? Just to show you something, right? All right, so let's get back to it, right? So look at this again now, Israel.
Entity to be a part of this. So the internet and social media has certainly helped to popularize it. But I really do feel strongly that this is something of a movement in that young Black people, they are...
Hold up, all right? She said this is a movement, and young Black people, check it out, are doing these things, right? So it's not just females alone, but you got males in it, but mainly females. Now look at this right here, Israel. I don't know if you can see right here on this lady's feet right here. She has a witch, tattoo on her leg. And you see this tattoo business too? That's another form of witchcraft. That's branding, right? That's why I tell people this tattoo thing, you should not get into it. If you're thinking about getting a tattoo, don't do it. Look at this right here, right? Right? Look at what she got here between her cleavage, right? You know, it's crazy to me, Israel. These people are conjuring spirits to possess them to do all type of demonical works, and they know what they're doing, but at the same time, I don't think they really understand. So let's continue.
Are reaching back, they are recovering that which is ancestral, but they're doing it in their own way.
Okay.
Right. See, so as usual, they try to, bombard us with these foolishness, but we're just gonna quickly get through this, all right? Because that's how it works. So let's get back to it, Israel, all right? So it's only showing you now, Israel, that this type of behavior is something that now have recently have been taking on more and more. The fact that people are home now, not going out, most of them going to work or whatever the case may be, they are now looking for another avenue. And this is where the devil comes in, all right? But, let's continue.
So do you want to light the candles? Should we do that? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to actually carve my sigils in the candle because they're from here.
Majori is a 29-year-old fashion designer living in New York who practices witchcraft. She casts spells with a coven of other young witches.
We're making money jars. So we're adding different herbs that manifest prosperity, money, success.
Hold up, Israel. You know what? I didn't want to touch the scriptures yet, but I had to touch it. The fact that she touched it, she said she's making money jars, right? And they're making this so they can have prosperity. Well, I'll just tell you, they're doing these things for gain, not realizing the gain that they're getting is a gain straight into hell. So I'm going to show you quickly and fast, all right? So let's go to, there it is, Acts 21, Acts 19 and 19, right? To make sure that I'm correct, right? Acts 19 and 19, right? I didn't want to touch it yet, but let me just touch it real quick, right? And it reads, many of them also which use curious arts brought their books together and burnt them before all men, and they counted their price of them and found it 50,000 pieces of silver. So you see, Israel, these are the things that they do. They try to do this so they can conjure up, so they can get money. It's really about vanity, at the end of the day. They're doing these things so they can gain, things which the Most High is trying to turn them away from, which is this world. Because if you're in this world or friends, right, you are an enemy to the Most High, right? So we're going to get into it, but I just wanted to see this, right? Many of them also, which use curious arts, brought their books together and burnt them before all men. And they counted the price of them and found it 50,000 pieces of silver. So you see, Israel, this thing is real. Let's get back to what she was telling us, all right? So they're trying to conjure up what? Money jar.
I feel like, Hollywood and like in the movies, they kind of like gave this idea that, magic was scary. And it's like, is this scary? It's not.
Would you consider this your religion as opposed to being Catholic?
Yes, definitely. Divination is my main form of like spiritual practice, but being Catholic too, it still like resonates and there's like some roots in there. I feel like Catholicism is extremely witchy. I mean, drinking the blood of Christ, I mean, the whole sacrament, that's a ritual. Like it is witchcraft. They just don't want to call it that. I just feel like we kind of need to get rid of that taboo mentality of like, this is something that is like evil or, harmful, because it's not at all. It's the complete opposite of that.
Do you feel like in the last 5 to 10 years or so that is happening?
Because of social media, there's a huge surge of giving a light to the divination community and like witchcraft and everything. And people are now being more vocal about their practice and being more comfortable expressing themselves and showing their craft. And I think that's very beautiful.
This is Ultra Magica, or crystals, coming out of the broom closet. So I have the Majori, the punk priestess, here in the flesh.
For many young spiritualists, the online community has replaced the one they might have had at church, but without the strict mandates that come with other religions.
I'm not the type of witch that likes to subscribe to rules. I just do whatever it is I please. If it doesn't fit the spell, I will improvise. It is what it is.
No, Israel. She said she's a witch, that she doesn't subscribe to rules. So what that is telling you? It is showing you that these people are rebellious, right? They do not want to follow the will of the Most High. They want to do what they want to do, right? And you know what? I want to touch on that scripture again. I know I didn't want to touch it yet, but you know what? Let me touch it. Let me go to this is Samuel. What if it's this one right here? Go here. Nope. All right. Did I have it here? Right. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna actually get that one later, but there is a scripture which I have, which states that to be rebellious is an abomination, right? Like almost like, well, I'm gonna get it. Don't worry, Israel. So let me just go back quickly to the video. I'm gonna get that scripture for you as well, just to show you that these things are, you know what? Matter of fact, let me get it now. You know what I mean? Since we're here now, so let me actually get it now. All right, and it shows you that most of these things that these people are doing is a rebellion against the Most High, but they don't see it as that because you know what? They have their own ulterior motive, right? And these motives for them is to gain prosperity. All right, here it is. So I'm going to get it right here, right? So it's Samuel, 1 Samuel, all right? 1 Samuel 15, all right? and 23. All right, let's get it real quick. Normally I wouldn't jump into the scriptures, the scriptures yet, but I had to get it because sometimes the Spirit does gives me that inclination to give these words unto you, Israel. No, here it is. For rebellion is as sin of witchcraft. You see what I'm saying, Israel? Now, she said earlier that she's going to do what she wants and she doesn't subscribe to rules. But here it is. For rebellion is as sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Most High, he had also rejected thee from being a king, right? Now, obviously, this was pointing out to, a thing that Saul did, but it still goes all the way across our people, right? So it shows you, Israel, right here, that she was saying she does not subscribe to anything which deals with rules. So we're gonna touch it again, right? Let's listen.
I'm not the type of witch that likes to subscribe to rules.
There you go. She's not a witch that subscribes to rules. Let's continue.
Just do whatever it is I please. If it
Do whatever she pleases, and she does not care. And if that doesn't work, she just work another spell, which is she's just working with another demon. Let's continue.
doesn't fit the spell, I will improvise. It is what it is.
I feel like the rules, it's like oppressive. We need to have, the system. You have to be a certified tarot reader. And it's like, I want to dismantle and get rid of that because that's not what healership really is. You don't.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. You don't have to subscribe to these rules because who's telling you these things? It's again, have your own independent thought. That is what.
There you go. They're telling you to have your own independent side. Now, this is why one of the reasons why in the beginning you had Adam and Eve. This comes right back to it, right? Where, Eve got tricked by the devil, which these ladies right here are getting tricked by the devil to letting them think that she was thinking that, when the father said, don't eat from that tree. And the devil said to her, who tell you say enough to eat from the tree? And she said, the father said, enough to eat from the tree, right? Because him say, if I eat from the tree, I'll die. And him said, no, you won't die. Is that, when you eat from it, it's just that this will happen, da 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 da. So you won't really die. And you know what she did? She went ahead and ate it. And what happened? She wanted to be independent. She wanted to do this and do it on her own. She even consulted her husband and said, all right, if you tell me this, let me go and ask Adam and hear what him said. Because you said ray, right? And this is the same spirit that is here now, Israel. These women, which are witches, are going to tell you, I'm going to tell you 10 out of 10 times, they're going to want to do what they want to do, right? You can't tell them anything. If you notice, most of these so-called witches are alone. They're not married. They don't got no spouse, right? They are alone because they want to rule, and it doesn't work like that.
Divination is.
I'm just holding
Very
it off.
Taurus of
Right? It's okay. We all know that these things will happen, so it's all good. All right. So let's just get rid of that and let's get back to this. All right. Here we go.
So today we're in Southfield, Michigan for the Detroit Hoodoo Festival, and dozens of spiritualists from around the country have come together. They all practice something different under the African traditional religious practices, but this is significant because 20, 30 years ago, these things were done in secret. So now they're gathering here at this hotel behind me for classes, workshops, there's vendors, and they're all just here to celebrate this new birth of spirituality.
I want to thank everybody for coming to the first annual Detroit Hoodoo Festival. And first up,
Right? Now this is real Israel. No, I don't want you to laugh, but this is this is not even real. I swear, because they're having, now conferences and voodoo seminars. I mean, if we're not in the last days, I really and truly don't know when is the last days. I'm telling you, Israel, because the devil is showing his face. The old dragon, the old serpent, this guy called Satan is in effect, right? And our people are going to be destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
We have a wonderful, powerful priestess, someone who really has a working grasp of the Spirit, a working grasp of the traditions, a working grasp of how to facilitate and create changes in your life. So please, if you would, welcome my sister, a powerful priestess, Ms. Ifa Ebeu.
Hi, y'all beautiful people. How are y'all? First of all, thank you.
Ifa Abeo is Melissa's spiritual mentor in the Lukumi faith.
The Bible is the biggest spell book known to man. We just don't know how to use it.
Ifa was initiated into Lukumi 4 years ago, but has been practicing divination through tarot card readings since the 90s.
So what was that experience like 20, 30 years ago, reading tarot cards?
In New Orleans and stuff, they call you root people, root workers, conjure people, and things like that. So it was taboo. It wasn't as it is now. That was a no-no. You would come after church. When the lights are out, you would come at night and, get your reading or whatever work you need done. But it wasn't out like now. You would go in New York and Central Park and you got a table full of everybody reading.
20, 30.
There you go, right? Now it's not being hid. These people are just doing, the devil's work, right? And this is what I'm telling you, like countries like, like America, they're, man, it's not going to be nice in that country when judgment drop. I'm telling you right now, Israel, when that's not the only country, but that's one of the countries where I'm telling you that the level of sin is so high that I know it's almost reaching all closer, so close to the heavens that the Father can smell their stink, right? Because this is, number one top level, out in your face, worshiping a devil, right? Idolatry to the fullest, right? So let's continue.
Years ago when you were doing tarot and things in secret, could you imagine that in 2021 you'd be at a Detroit Voodoo Festival teaching a class?
Now, I will say this. The person that started to do this, to take it out on the road, a lot of spiritual people were against it. They were like, no, it's going to bring a lot of negative. It's going to make spiritual people look horrible. But we still did it because people now have a hunger.
How do you see these traditions and these religions evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
I see that more and more people who study this are seeing the health benefits, the mental health benefits, the healing benefits of religion and spirituality.
No, I don't understand what this lady is talking about. She's saying that people are seeing the benefits of this. What kind of benefits are these people seeing? I want to know, right? Because if this, they call, what they're seeing is benefits, I'm lost for words, because there's no benefit in doing the devil's work. How can you call yourself a witch, and doing things which are casting spells and doing all kind of madness, mixing up all kind of foolishness and burning all kind of sage and you name whatever it is. These people are out their mind, literally, because they can't be somebody within their right mind. They have to be another spirit that's dwelling in there, that's letting them doing these madness, all right? And it's clear.
It may not be conventional. It may not be what your parents did, but it's really, this is something that I think is going to grow, and it might be more broadly accepted because it works.
Let us be sun-drenched and beaming, anointed, let it rain.
Let it rain on me now. So be it. So it is.
And so it is.
So it
You know, Israel. So, it's crazy. I swear, it's really crazy. So I'm going to quickly touch the scriptures right now, right? And we're going to get into it. So I'm at Exodus 22 and 18, right? And, this is what the Most High is telling you that will happen to people that do these madness, right? It's crazy up in here, right? So let's read this right here, Israel, right? And this tells you what will happen to you when you deal with witchcraft, right? Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Do you see that, Israel? This is what the Most High is telling us, right? Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Now, I don't know about these ladies I just saw, but clearly they don't want to live. And whatever the thing that they have going on, really and truly, they have nothing going on, right? They are just setting up themselves for some serious, serious torment when it comes, right? So let's jump to Micah, right? 5 and 12. Chapter 5 and 12, right? And it reads, and I will cut off witchcraft out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers, right? So the Most High will slowly but surely cut off witchcraft out of thine hands, right? And this goes out to even to some of our people right now in the Caribbean that is, they keep doing these foolishness, right? Even another country that we know to be as Haiti. Now, Haiti is like, if you know, I don't know if you know this, but Haiti is like one of the most, you could say the poorest Caribbean country in the whole Caribbean, right? To that level to where, I mean, I've seen and known people from Haiti, and I'm telling you, if they could flee from that country, everybody would run away. Trust me, because that country is down on its face. And the only reason why is because they're heavily, heavily into voodoo and into witchcraft. Now, I'm going to go to a clip real quick and I'm going to get into it. Israel, right? So this madness continues even with our people, and we seem not to learn. And this is one of the reasons why we're in the state that we are, because if you know the history, Haiti was one of the first countries out of all the Caribbean countries that got their independence first. And actually, they beat the French over a couple of years of revolution and they got rid of them. They killed them out, right? And they took back the country. And matter of fact, Haiti was one of the most, you could say, stable in terms of financial country, back then. But within a few years after, the French came back and started, and they couldn't go back to war again because it was such a long war, right? And the French told them, listen, if you do not pay back all that money that we lost, you are going to die. So what happened? They basically had to pay a ransom, and they basically were more worse off than what they were before, right? Not to say that they should be up under slavery, but I'm just showing you because they were using divination to try to, get somewhere, and in the end, getting nowhere. They end up worse for it because the Most High told you that no man shall save you. Let's get into it, Israel.
Antichrist is coming.
Hi, it's Thomas. We're in East New York outside a basement voodoo temple run by a priestess named Mama Edeline. Tonight she's going to be summoning the same fiery spirits that helped the Haitian slaves overthrow their French masters in the early 1800s. Maybe this will kick off something fiery for us. Voodoo started in Haiti as a clandestine way for African slaves to practice their traditional religion. When the French tried to force Christianity down their throats, the slaves simply took the major spirits, or Loa, and matched them with the Catholic saint they most closely resembled, then pretended to worship those guys instead. Do you have to know a spirit for it to possess you? Do you have to ask it to?
All of us on earth, we are spiritual somehow. The spirit likes you, you want to live in you, you get possessed by the spirit.
Is it possible I'll be possessed by one of these spirits, or will it be?
I don't know, it's dependent on them.
In Haiti, a divine spirit is called a Loa.
There are 121 Loa in the voodoo universe. Tonight's mass was focused on summoning the Petros, fire spirits, to possess or mount their people in the room. Then to let them speak through their bodies and offer advice and blessing.
Possession is the psychic phenomenon which occurs when a divinity becomes manifest. There are many subtle gradations of salutation, and these indicate the relative authority of the persons involved.
The first possession of the night was Ogun, the same Lo summoned in the lead up to the Haitian Revolution, and actually the spirit who told the slaves they should revolt. Ogun is a warrior spirit, a heavy smoker and rum drinker, and associated with fire and iron, so when he mounts a person, it usually leads to a lot of machete play and burning things, including money, which practitioners offer him from their pockets for luck. This may seem to us like a bunch of voodoo rum talk, but the day after our ceremony, one of the women in the room played the lottery using the visible numbers from the half-burnt bills on the floor and won $500. So there you go. The way she behaves when she's, possessed by the spirits is legitimately trance-like. I chalk this up to legitimate possession.
Man, I'm telling you, man, it is crazy up in here, right? So it goes to show Israel that this is something that, our people, have always been doing, right? And it has not helped them in no shape nor form, right? All they're going to do is when that day comes when they leave this plane, they are going to meet something that they will not truly expect, right? And it won't be pretty, right? Now here it says, Israel, and I will cut off witchcraft out of thine hands, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers, right? But let's even go deeper. Let's even take it way back a little bit more, like from the days of Saul. So if you knew who Saul was the first king of Israel, right? He was a Benjamite, right? And Saul, went against what the Most High told him not to do and leaned upon his own understanding and wanted to do what he wanted to do. And then in the end, right, the Most High cut him off and then slowly but surely started to set up David to be the king of Israel, right? And through David, the lineage of Christ, that's what, Christ came through, right? The lineage of Judah, because it stated that Judah will be praised by all his brethren, right? Now watch this. Then said Saul unto his servants, seek me a woman that had a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said unto him, Behold, there is a woman that had a familiar spirit at Endor. Right? So now let's continue down here. And it reads, And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiments, and he went, and two men with him, and they came to a woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me up whom I shall name unto thee. Right? Let's continue. Right? Let's continue, Israel. And it reads, And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul had done, how he had cut off those that have familiar spirits and wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life to cause me to die? Right? Now, why she's saying this is that Saul and the Most High gave them the decree that anybody with familiar spirits and wizards and soothsayers, they should be put to death, as it says right here, Israel. Most High is telling you, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Right? So let's go back again. Right? So she was saying that, so how is it that you now, Saul, are coming to me when you had all these wizards and witch and familiar spirits, had them killed? Now hear what Saul is saying no, right? And Saul swore to her by the Most High, saying, As the Most High liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing, right? Because what happened now, Saul, he was praying to the Most High, he was, going to his prophets, and the Most High was not answering him because he did something that he was not supposed to. So the Most High cut him off neatly without even saying a word to him, not even to tell him anything, right? And because of that, he was trying to find out what the Most High wanted him, or why the Most High wasn't speaking to him, right? So now, let's continue. I'm going to read straight down here, right? Verse 11. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Samuel. Now, Samuel was a prophet, but Samuel passed away, right? And Samuel was a very good friend of Saul. Saul loved Samuel and Samuel loved Saul, right? But because of Saul's foolish ways, he was now not seeking the Most High, which even though the Most High wasn't speaking to him, but he should have just humbled himself and be patient, right? Now look, and when the woman saw Saul, she cried with a loud voice, and the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul, right? She didn't realize that, it was Saul, because Saul was the king at that time, right? And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sayest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw God ascending out of the earth, right? So this woman said that, obviously she can see God's ascending out of the earth, right? And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, right? And he stopped with his face to the ground and bowed himself, right? Now, she was telling him that she saw Samuel. And, he knowing who Samuel was, was bowing himself to Saul, well, to Samuel, So hear what Samuel said to him now. And Samuel said unto Saul, why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and Elohim is departed from me, and answer me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make me known unto me what shall I do. Right? So this is showing you, Israel, that these things have been going on with our people for a very long time. Right? And even Saul, which was the king of Israel at that time, because the Most High, as he said right here, cut him off, so he was trying to find another avenue to get answers. So I'm saying, and not knowing that was going to be his destruction, right? Now, let's even just hear what Samuel had to say to him real quick. One of the things, so I don't stay too long on this because I have more scriptures to bring, all right? Then Samuel said, wherefore then doest thou ask me? Seeking the Most High is departing from thee and is become thine enemy, right? But hear what Saul said to him now, right? And the Most High had done to him as he spoke by me. For the Most High had repented the kingdom out of thine hand and given it into thy neighbor, even to David. You see? Because he was not obedient. Why the Most High did this, right? And because of this, he was now distressed, right? Now let's go to Leviticus, right? And this is Leviticus 20, verse 27, all right? And it reads, a man also or woman that had a familiar spirit or that is a wizard shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them, right? So when you are a wizard, which is, well, wizard is the man, and a witch would be the female, right? And these things are taking place right now in our movie industries, also into our, our food, right? Into clothes that we wear, you know what I mean? To the cars that we drive. These people are casting spell all over the place. But, obviously, they're not going to tell you this, but, when you are linked in with Christ, then you shall see these things, because everything shall make manifest itself to you, and the truth shall set you free, right? Now, let's go to Isaiah chapter 8, verse 19, right? And it reads, and when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their Elohim, for the living to the dead? So it shows you, right? Should not a people seek the Most High, for the living to the dead? How is it that the living can try to speak to the dead, right? You're not speaking really truly to the dead. You are speaking to a demon, right? And this is the same scenario that happened to Saul, right? Because they wanted to get gain, and that's what it comes down to. They're trying to get gain to somehow make their position better than what it is. And all it comes down to in Israel is that our people don't know how to humble themselves, right? The Most High tells us. Because we don't humble ourselves, we are going to be destroyed, right? Because we seek everything else except the Most High. We are hustling back way. We are trying to get things of this world instead of trying to seek the Father, and then everything else shall be added unto you. And when the Father gives you something, it's forever, just like what he gave David. David, yes, is not here in the flesh, but his name still lives on, his legacy still lives on. Not only that, David also will receive unto his promise, which the Most High promised him. And it's some of it already has been fulfilled through Christ. All right. Now let's go to one more Israel. I'm going to go to I'm going to go to First Corinthians. First Corinthians. All right. First Corinthians chapter 3 and 6. All right. First Corinthians chapter 3 and 6. Let's see if I have that right here. Right. Let me go back up here. Right. First Corinthians chapter 3. And let me go to 16, right? All right, here we go, all right? So this is truly key, Israel, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, right? Even to some of the things that's taking place now in terms of dealing with the jab and all these other madness that they're enforcing on people, this is what you should tell people, right? And this is why a lot of these people do these evil things, right? Even the World Health Organization, whatever them want to be, you know what I mean? Those people are heavily in witchcraft, right? So let's read this. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwell in you? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy, right? So let's read that back again. If any man defile that the temple of Elohim, he shall Elohim destroy. For the temple of Elohim is what? Holy, which temple he are, right? So let no man deceive you, right? And this is what's taking place right now, Israel, right? We are being deceived in every which way and form, right? Because we are looking for gain, right? When the only gain is the Most High, which is in Christ, right? Christ is that door to the Father. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's up to you, right? But, you know, the scripture, really and truly, don't lie, right? And these are the things that we have to get back to. We have to run away from these, you know, divinations and witchcraft and all these other madness that we're doing and idolatry, right? Because it's not going to gain anything more than, you know, a ball of fire, continuous burning. That's what it's going to get you, right? Continuously, right? So I actually wanted to get one more scripture, actually, Israel, you know, before I go. And I'm actually going to get it now, right? I'm going to go to Galatians, all right? I'm going to go to Galatians 5 and What's that again? Galatians 5 and let me check if it's 13. Hold on. All right. Galatians 5. All right. All right, here we go. All right. So, all right, let's start from 13 because I did get 13. So let me start from 13, right? So Galatians 5, right? I'm going to read it down to, to 22. Sorry, 23, all right? So let me read. For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another, all right? For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Very true. Sometimes that can be an issue, but we need to break that barrier because that's one of the hardest things the devil set up for us, right? Is to have, variances against our neighbors, right? But if he bite and devour one another, take heed that he be not consumed one of another. All right? Now watch this now. This I say then, walk in the spirit. He shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Now, this is what these witchcraft and witches are doing. They are not, walking in the spirit, but they are walking in the lust of the flesh. Because hear what, in the first interview that lady said, she said Christ did not do anything. It was the most toxic relationship she had, right? Because she wanted what she wanted. And because she couldn't get it through Christ, obviously she went somewhere else. And that was what? The lust of the flesh. Because she says now that her prayers are being answered, right? So let's see if it's being answered. So hear what the Father says now about that, right? For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that he cannot do the things that he would. Very true. So because the flesh lusts against the spirit, they go contrary. Now check this now, Israel. But if he be led by the spirit, ye are not under the law. Why? Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness. Continue down here. Idolatry, witchcraft. Let's highlight that, all right? Let's highlight that, all right? Idolatry, witchcraft. You see, Israel? Let's continue. Hatred, variance, emulation, wrath, strife, sedition, heresy. See? Envying, murders, drunkenness, reveling, and such alike. Now, if you notice, when they're doing their witchcraft ceremonies, what they do, they always drinking alcohol. So what? It's reveling and drunkenness, but they're conjuring up spirits. You notice what they call these alcohol? Spirits. That's not a joke. You drink enough of it, a spirit will enter you. So this is why they call it spirits. No joke. Now, check this. Of which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. Right? So it's telling you, when you do witchcraft and all these other things, you will not inherit the kingdom. Right? But let me show you what will get you in, right? But the fruits of the Spirit is what? Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith. Let's continue. Meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Reason mean, it does not mean you not to follow the laws of the Most High. What he's telling you, when you have mastered these things, which is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, against these there's no law. Reason being is because you have already mastered these things, so you're above the law now, so that you don't really need the law, because the law is just a guideline to keep you in line. But if you have these, then the law for you is non-effect, because you have already done the things that is needed for you to get into the kingdom. Well, if you see the gist right here now, Israel, right? So walk in the Spirit, and let us also walk in the Spirit. Live in the Spirit, walk in the Spirit, not in the spirit of wickedness, not in the spirit of witchcraft, not in the spirit of hatred, not in the spirit of wickedness, drunkenness, murders, none of these things, all right? But with love and joy, peace, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Now, these things will give you that entrance in unto the Most High, which is in Christ our Savior, right? And I can't repeat it enough. I am talking the Black Christ, or let's say the Israelite Christ, not the Caucasian looking Christ, okay? Let's get that straight, right? And that is not to offend anybody, but if you were offended, all you got to do is go read the scriptures, do your history, and you will see. Take your feelings out of it and deal with truth, not feelings. Because feelings is what? Feelings will get you into variances. Feelings will get you into reveling. Feelings will get you into hatred. Feelings will get you into immolations. Feelings will get you into strife. And feelings will get you into seduction. And this is what these witches are doing, seducting you to the ground, right? And these demons are seducting you to the ground because you are in your feelings. So with that, Israel, I will say, I pray that this has been edifying and this has been in somewhat uplifting in the way that you can go, you can, inspire somebody, you can go and tell somebody that, you know what, let me change my trajectory. Let me not get caught up into nothing which is not of these things: love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Right? So, with that, I say, all praises unto the Most High. We're giving thanks unto thee, Father, for thou art merciful and kind to thy servant and also to thy people. Shalom, one love.